And rounding this out, we have Roger Little from Spire. Roger.
Thank you very much. Am I in this thing? Can you hear me? It's okay, huh? I have to talk to it. You have to be 7 foot tall, I think, on this one. That's okay. All right, that's better. Here's the opportunity. It's in the United States. Spire's been in business about 35 years, building factories that manufacture PV modules all over the world. More than 80% of our business has been international. We put in factories in Kathmandu and Soweto and Ulaanbaatar and all these great places. And thank God the market's coming back to the U.S. So we're really excited about it. This is the place you want to be. Don't worry about your passport. If you're here now, this is where you're going to build your business. Here's what's driving the U.S. market. The stimulus bill is a good jump start. I think we've all heard about the terms of the stimulus bill, 30% grants on systems. Now, it's been a long time coming, and it's rolling down, and it hasn't hit us yet, but it's coming. It's got to come, right? On top of that, you have state incentives, and it's almost now the states are beginning to lead the industry in the United States. Every state wants jobs. Every state is ready to put in renewable energy. Every state is putting in renewable portfolio standards. So the states are going to begin to drive the whole industry in the U.S. based upon the jump starting we get from the stimulus bill. A lot of other good things are going on, and we've got a clean energy bill which is not passed yet in Washington, but talking about 20% of electricity from renewables. So there's staggering impetus for the growth of the market. Here's just what each state has identified in terms of photovoltaic manufacturing needs. And you can see Texas is almost 1,000 megawatts. Florida is 640 megawatts. And these are all part of their planning and going forward. And at the same time, of course, they want jobs. So now is a good time to look at that market. If you add everything up, you get a market like this, which is based upon averaging those three marketeers, SolarBuzz, Prometheus, and Lazard. Namely, in 2008, the U.S. market was about 300 megawatts. Yet we're projecting that it'll go to 3,000 megawatts in 3 years. And those aren't my projections. They're the guys who are doing the studies. And what we believe at Spire is that crystalline silicon will dominate this market. Right now it does dominate the market worldwide. It will continue to dominate the market in the U.S. Here are some reasons. Poly costs are down to $55 a kilogram. At one point they were up to $300. This means a lower cost of modules. It's tough to beat the cost of silicon modules. High efficiency drives down costs all the way across the board, especially in systems. And most importantly, as the market develops around PPAs, power purchase agreements, which require a 20-year lifetime, crystalline silicon has demonstrated it can go 20 years. And we know manufacturers now who are talking about 25 and 30-year warranties on their panels. That's money. So if you look at dollars per kilowatt hour over time, in the end, crystalline silicon dominates. So we looked at the market at 3,000 megawatts. We said, who's going to build this stuff, especially in the U.S.? If you're going to build these systems in the U.S., we know there's a tremendous push on job creation. And much of the grants and incentives and flow-down stimulus money has to be tied to jobs. So you've got to make it here. So we said, well, who's making crystalline silicon modules in the U.S. now, and what do we know about the projected expansion? And this is the list we get. And, you know, we could study this list, and you could identify perhaps other players. But it looks something like this, that in 2012, when the market is projected to be 3,000 megawatts. There might be 1,000 megawatts of current indigenous module manufacturing for crystalline silicon, even with the expansion of Solar, World Sharp, and a few others. So there's a huge shortfall of manufacturers for crystalline silicon modules today, projected in 2008 to be almost 2,000 megawatts of shortfall of crystalline silicon module manufacturing. So it's a huge suction here. We got a vacuum that's going to develop rapidly. And this is how you make a crystalline silicon module. You start with sand. You go to polysilicon. From polysilicon, you cast it into an ingot, or you grow it into a sausage, Czochralski ingot. You slice it up, you make wafers. You take the wafers, you make cells, you assemble the cells into modules. So if you want to be in this business, where do you get in? Well, here's the way I like to look at it. This is the minimum size factory you should consider if you want to get into the value stream at those various points. So if you want a poly plant, you're talking about a 500 megawatt poly plant. That's the minimum size that you want to talk about. If you want a wafer plant, it's more like a 50 megawatt per year factory. A cell factory can run pretty well on 25 megawatts per year. Module factories can run all the way down to 10 megawatts per year and be cost effective. Here's your capital investment. Typically, a poly plant, you need at least $250 million. For a wafer plant, you needed $40 million. For a cell line, $15 million. And you can go all the way down to 10 megawatt module lines for as low as $2 million. So my view is what's going to happen, because of the states driving for jobs, because of the cost effectiveness of assembling modules from cells from a central location, that there will be a model that really prevails in the U.S., which is distributed module manufacturing. Because you can be cost effective, you save money in the shipping channels with inventory. We could set a factory up in a very short period of time. There's no toxicity, there are no environmental requirements. You don't have to deal with the fire department.